This is Predator Hunting Radio. This is episode number 10, and in this episode we're going to be talking about different types of predator calls. We're also going to be getting into my State of the Union and a little bit of background or a little bit of information on that I discovered this week. And then we're going to wrap this episode up and get ready for the next one. So let's go ahead and get into this. So, different types of predator calls. Well, back in the day, whenever I first discovered predator hunting, I actually learned about it through YouTube. And sorry, there's a jet going by, can't control that. But anyways, the first time I ever even watched anything to do with predator hunting was on YouTube, and it was Randy Anderson. Randy Anderson is an absolute legend in the coyote hunting arena, and I used to just watch hours of video of him just killing the heck out of coyotes, however you want to say it. And I was a pretty big deer hunter back then, and that pretty much led me to start looking at calls and looking at, a way to get into it, because back whenever I was deer hunting a lot, I would see coyotes all the time and I would just shoot them, because obviously they kill baby deer, they kill baby turkeys, they kill full-size deer, they kill all kinds of stuff, livestock. Basically, I found a mouth call, and it was one of the ones that he was using. I ordered it and I started learning how to use it, and that's what pretty much got me into the predator hunting arena in general. So the basic types though that we're going to talk about today, there are the mouth calls, which go into your mouth kind of like a turkey mouth call. This one's actually by Primos. It has a little raised, so I mean, obviously there's people on here that are listening to this and not just watching it, but basically this is red. It has a raised area that goes on the roof of your mouth, which is like a green hard plastic, and then your reeds are underneath that. So I'm not that good with this, although I can use it to make like pup squeals, which is pretty cool. And I can kind of do like a little howl, but it's not very loud, and maybe it's not meant to be loud. I'm just not really good with it and don't have a lot of experience with it, although I do practice with it in my truck sometimes whenever I'm driving. So there's mouth calls, and then there are hand calls. This one is actually Johnny Stewart dog howler. It is basically two pieces with a reed on it. This one right here is really high pitched, and you can adjust your lips on the reed to actually make the pitch higher or lower. And then this is kind of like another piece. It's a bell that goes on the end of it, and what it does is it magnifies the sound like crazy, so it's kind of like a megaphone. And then also, obviously, you have your different sounds you can make with that. You can go higher pitch for like pups. You can go higher pitched for like females, and you can go real deep, lower on the reed for males. You can get raspy with it just by growling in your voice. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with these. And then this is actually made by Flextone. It's a rabbit distress call, and this one's cool because you can growl with it and make noise as well, but you can also take it's basically a soft plastic, and you can take it and you can move your hand like this, but you can also squeeze it and make different tones out of it. So the Flextone is pretty cool as well. So then I'm sure there's other types of calls as well. I know for a fact that myself, sometimes whenever I see a coyote and he's really close, I'll just squeak with my lips. That usually works, although if a coyote's hip to it, then it doesn't work. But then you have basically your electronic calls. Now, there are tons of electronic calls out there. There's tons of hand calls out there. There's tons of all these calls out there, but these are just the ones that I'm using right now. This is actually called an Icotec Outlaw, and it is on the higher end of the money as far as Icotec's products, but it's really cool. It has an electronic remote that works from like 300 yards out. The remote has a daytime and a nighttime on it. It comes with like 250 sounds pre-programmed in. It can hold up to 500. You can play 2 sounds at once. There's all kinds of stuff that this thing, it has an actual decoy that comes with it that you can control with the remote. The remote also has a place where you can plug in a cord and actually transmit sounds into the remote as well. But this is the one I'm using right now, and it's on the higher end. It's the Icotech Outlaw. So, but before I got that one, I actually was using a lower model like Icotech GC 120, and it held like 24 pre-programmed sounds. You could put sounds in it if you wanted to. It had like a little memory card, and the remote was really simple, and it just had numbers on it, and it was hard to remember what the sounds were. But the new one has like where you can read them. It's really cool. So that's pretty much, you know, as far as the types of sounds go. Now, let's get into a little bit of like, you know, how and when. So just to give you more experience on this, back whenever I first got the hand call, I lived on 80 acres. Me and my wife, before we got married, we lived with her parents for like 2 years and saved a bunch of money, and so that we could go and buy a house. And we lived on this property, and it was mainly cow pasture. There was quite a bit of, you know, head of cow on there. And every year in the wintertime, the heifers would start to have babies in the calves. Well, that's whenever we would start seeing the coyotes. And I remember one time I saw, basically where we lived in the house, you know, it was kind of up on a hill, and I would always look, whenever in the evening time, I'd always look out there and see if I could see one. And I actually seen one running down the tree line, and I ran and grabbed my gun and grabbed my ghillie suit, because I already had all this stuff just because I wanted to get better at predator hunting. So I used a ghillie suit, and I went and jumped it all on and ran out there, and I went and sat down by a tree, and nothing, didn't see nothing. I'm like, what the heck? So finally I took this thing and I did kind of like a siren or whatever with it, you know, just kind of went, you know, like kind of a raise up and then come down. And the coyote was basically like maybe 75 yards from me in the trees. He had ran over there and laid down. And whenever I did that, he popped up and was looking around like, what the heck is that? And boom, I shot him right in the leg. Got him right at the base of the leg there, and just got him. So, and that was just something that I learned just from watching those videos. Basically, you know, Randy Stewart would do like a kind of like a siren where he'd go up and come down, and it was basically a locator call, and it would get them riled up, and then you could hear where they are, and then you could take off and go to where they were, and then try to call them with the different calls, you know, the challenge call and all that stuff. And even you can do rabbit distress with this too, just by moving your mouth a different way. So that's kind of cool. And I did a lot with that, but never had a lot of huge success because I never really like had a bunch of property to go hunt, you know, and I never really was doing it like I'm doing it now. So now what I do is I have multiple properties, and I'm constantly trying to go find more properties. Like, and I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes, but basically, like today, basically I went to watermelon shed where my wife's uncle's harvesting watermelons. They're harvesting right now, and there was another guy down the road that was harvesting them, and he has, I'm going to say like maybe 100 plus acres right there of actual watermelons that he does down the road. And I'd never met him before, but I rode by and I seen him sitting there on a Kubota, so I turned around and came back and started talking to him. And I talked to him for like 30 minutes and basically just got his number. And next year, whenever watermelon season comes, I'm going to go over there and shoot deer for him, which is kind of cool because me and my buddy, we coyote hunt the area coming up to where he's at. So that'll kind of give us more access. And there's a bunch of coyotes in that area as well. And you can bet whenever I'm deer hunting, I'm going to be coyote hunting too, because the cool part with the deer hunting is you don't really make sounds. You just ride around and shoot deer as long as you have the tags for them at nighttime. So even after you shoot the deer, you can still call coyotes. And I know there's a lot on that south end of where we're hunting that's going to be there. So basically just picked up another property in the future But the thing about it is that, you know, that's one property. And I'm sitting right here on another property. This is like 40 acres. It's just got basically, it was planted in oats. It just got basically they just pulled the oats recently, and they mowed it and they rolled up the hay. So this is, like, in my opinion, going to be prime time for calling. And I'm supposed to go out tonight, and I'm hopefully going to come over here with another person or two, and we're going to try to call this and see what we can get to come out. Now, I know for a fact that when I was deer hunting this, because I deer hunted this a couple times last year in different seasons for the farming part of it, basically there was a point here where I parked my truck over there, and there was a group that lit up once I got out of the truck across the road over there, and then there was another group that lit up over here. Well, I basically just walked out, you know, halfway across this field and sat in a chair, and whenever I was sitting there, the coyotes came right out, and they came to the road right in front of me, and I got my scope up and looked at them, but they never really stopped. And then they ran this way and went back into the woods. So I didn't really get a shot on them, but I wasn't calling either. So this has really never been called. So this ought to be a pretty good spot. And me, with the experience that I have, I'm trying to learn that, you know, obviously most of the places that I hunt now, I've been calling and calling and calling there. And, you know, they're hip to my sounds. But when I first got that electronic call, this one, man, everywhere I went, they were just charging into it. So I feel like, you know, obviously they can definitely get hip to sounds, especially if you play them a lot, if you play the same ones, if you play them too loud. So, you know, my one mission is A, to find new spots and not overcall it, but then B, to actually get more sounds for this. Now let's talk about more sounds for this. So I'm not sure if Randy Anderson, he's a legend. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's retired. I'm sure he still hunts a little bit, but I'm not sure about him. But I know he had calls out and all kinds of stuff like that. He had DVDs, stuff like that. But I'm not sure if he had sounds. But this Icotec Outlaw actually comes with Tony Abreu sounds, which Tony Abreu runs Predator University. He is up in the Midwest somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but the guy is a legend as well. He actually has in his possession coyotes. He raises them, he catches them, he raises them, he hunts them with dogs. He does all kinds of crazy stuff, and he has sounds that are just out of this world. And there's a bunch programmed on here, which is really cool. Also, there's some other sounds on here. I can't remember what they are, but as far as sounds go, there's Lucky Duck. There's different brands, you know. This is the Icotec Outlaw. There's the Lucky Duck is another big brand. They have the Lucky Duck Revolt. They have all kinds of different ones there. They even have one that spins on a remote, so you can kind of change sound, you know, in the way it's carrying, which is pretty cool. They got a guy on there, one of their guys that hunts on the on the YouTube show that I've seen. His name's Rick something. I can't remember his name, but he makes a lot of cool sounds as well. But the only thing with those is you can only use them on Lucky Duck, as far as I know. Also, there's another guy that I follow on YouTube. His name is James Bostock, and he runs a company called Boss Predator Acoustics, and he creates his own sounds. He has a couple different sound packs. I reached out to him last week to try to interview him. Haven't heard back from him, but that's okay. I got to get myself more in the game here and, you know, get myself more known before some of these people are going to respond to me, which is all good. But he's a guy that I want to buy some sounds from as well. Also, another big name in the industry, Predator Tactics. Predator Tactics, a guy named Heath Baker. He runs, basically he's hunting like, if not every day, almost every day, doing live streams and stuff, hunting like during the daytime. He does some night as well. But he has a whole slew of sounds, and they have a whole slew of sounds that he runs, and they sell those as well. There's also MFK game calls. I'm not sure if MFK work on the Icotec Outlaw. I'm pretty sure I checked and they don't. So even just figuring out if you could get some of those. I know a lot of people use the MFK. Those are super big. I'm not sure the guy's name on that one. And then there's one more that I want to talk about, and it's called Convergent. It's the Bullet, and it's basically a YouTube speaker. There is an app on the iPhone, or an app on all the phones that you can get, and it comes with coyote sounds, or you can get hog sounds. As far as the hog sounds go, there's a guy named Glenn Guest that put all those hog sounds on there. He's really a familiar hog guy. He's been calling for years. He actually calls them up with those sounds, him and his wife. But the Convergent is basically a Bluetooth speaker that works off there, but I have those sounds on my phone, and I'm pretty sure I can plug my phone into the remote on this and use them there too. So it just gives you more of a range of sounds. So, but I'm learning, like I said, I'm learning all of this. I'm not a professional by any means, just talking about stuff and trying to learn the best I can and just share it with you because, there's a lot to learn and there's a lot of mistakes to be made, and I'm definitely making them. So, and getting into that, let's talk about my mistakes in my State of the Union. So, at the beginning of this year, at the end of last year, I was on a pretty good spree. We were definitely knocking some down. And at the beginning of this year, I set a goal for myself to basically kill 100 predators. And with that in mind, I was watching guys like that guy Heath Baker, who killed like 140 something in like 3 or 4 months. But like I said, he's going every day. I can't go every day. I have a full-time job. I have a side hustle business that I'm running. And then I also do this podcast. I try to hunt 2 nights a week. Like, I don't even know if I can make 100 this year, but I'm going to keep pushing and just use it as a goal to push towards, because to me, if you don't have any goals, then you're really not going anywhere. So, but one thing that I just learned is those guys are hunting a lot more than me. So, and I kind of get frustrated. Like right now I'm in a little bit of a lull and people go through this all the time. I know, because I've heard other people talk about it, but basically where they go through weeks at a time without killing anything. And that's just part of it. But also there's 2 other guys that are just north of me, and a couple counties north of me. And both of those guys killed like over 300 coyotes last year. And another thing that I just learned, and you can't really compare yourself to other people, and this is a big deal, but those guys, on their Facebook pages, they're always showing pictures of 10, 15 coyotes at one time all strung up. But those guys are hunting thousands and thousands of acres. And I actually just learned this week that they have a business that's basically like, coyote and livestock, farm and livestock coyote or predator control. Like, they have a business. It's a business, and that's what they do. So they could be doing this every day, or every night. And I know it's their busy time right now. I met them a couple weeks ago, but so I'm trying to compare myself to them and trying to set these huge goals. And at the same time, those goals might be a little bit unrealistic, but I'm not going to get, out of whack with it. I'm just going to keep pushing forward. And after this year, I should know maybe next year what I'll be able to hit on the next year if I can keep pushing like this. So that's where I'm at with that. Pretty cool stuff. The main reason why I started this whole podcast, though, was just because I wanted to share, but also I recently became a night vision and thermal dealer. It's basically my first business altogether. So, I'm trying to build a customer base, and I know this will help me do that. But at the same time, if I can add value to somebody else, they could become a customer for life. I don't know. But at the same time, the coolest part about doing this whole thing in general, even like today when I was talking to that farmer, is, these are people that are going to become my friends. Like, my farmer down the road here that got me into this property right here, we're becoming business partners on stuff. These are your future friends, so there's a lot that could come of this, and sometimes there's nothing that can come of it. But at the same time, there's a lot of possibilities, and it's really fun, and it's definitely cool whenever you're knocking stuff down. So I appreciate you watching. If you're thinking about buying a new scope in the near future, go check out my link. It's yournextnightscope.com. There you can just put your email address in and download a free PDF that I created to basically save you time, money, and aggravation when it comes to buying your next night scope, whether it's your first one or whether it's your second or third. It doesn't matter. There could be something on there that you didn't know that I might can help you, shorten your curve. Thank you for watching. If you like this podcast, please smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to it. I'm trying to build it, and it is what it is. It's definitely growing slowly, but it is slow, but eventually it'll pick up. I know it will. And if you're hearing this on one of the podcasts, on an actual, just the audio part of it, I do mainly on YouTube, but then I syndicate out the audio part. So that's why I try to explain everything I can as far as the video goes for the audio part of it. But if you are there and you find me there, maybe go to YouTube and check it out. I do just do it off of my golf cart, and I just go out to the field and do it. So it's pretty cool stuff. So other than that, I appreciate you watching, and I guess we'll see you in the next episode.